Hello, this is the lesson on All About Egypt. This is for kids ESL speaking, and it's for primary school students who's at the upper beginner level for grades 4 and up. So let's take a look. The first part is the lesson itself, followed by some exercises at the end. So I'll go through that with you. So here at the beginning of the lesson about Egypt is the general location of Egypt. So this is a world map, and the corner here on the left hand corner, there are these question prompts, which is for the teachers to use. So the teachers can use these questions to as a conversation starter, and this is how you start engaging in some interesting discussions with your students. And if you have your own questions you can come up with, feel free to throw them in. So the next part is here, a general introduction on Egypt, that it's an old country. Again, here some interesting discussions, right? Do you know other old countries? Ask a student, right? Just pick their brains. And how do you think people lived 4,000 years ago? Is your country old? And then I go on to talk about the weather in Egypt in the summer, how it feels like, what it feels like in the summer. And again, compare, the weather in Egypt to the student's country, right, in the summer. And next, I talk about the way how people stay in the shade, right, or stay inside the house, right, to keep cool during the hot days, right? Ask the student, what do you like to do in the summer? Another set of questions. And then I go on to talk about what weather is like in the winter. After that, it's about the people in Egypt, right? Egyptians, they're called Egyptians. What language do they speak? They speak Arabic, okay? Ask a student, what language do you speak? What do you call the people that live in your country? And then talk about the Egyptian flag. And then here, where is Egypt? What's the climate like in Egypt? Okay, so here, Egypt, most part of Egypt is in the Sahara Desert. Okay, more questions for the teachers to use. And then I talk about the important thing, the Nile River. And here you can get the student to read, right? These are short sentences. And then as to check their comprehension level, these questions here, okay, which help you to check their level of understanding. Some questions here at the bottom here, you can find the answers from these sentences above, okay? And then I talk about how, long ago, ancient Egyptians lived along the Nile River, and because, they had to travel by boat, right? And then here, I talked about their ancient beliefs. Egyptians believed that the Nile River was a gift from God. And why, right? The question is why. And here it tells you because. Get the students to talk to you, right? And then here, modern day, right? Modern life. What is it like in the cities of Egypt? And then I talk about food, right? Egyptian food and how they like to eat by hand. Ask the student, what's your eating habit? What's are some famous dishes in your country? And then I go on to talk about the pyramids, and then also facts against myths, right? Do you believe? What do you believe? Which one is more exciting? Do you believe in facts or do you believe in myths? Who built the pyramids? And then I go on to talk about the mummies, and this is an interesting part. You can extend as much as you want, throw in your own questions, just have fun with it, okay? And then I talk about the kings, right? The kings and also the queens in ancient Egypt, and then also these ancient drawings on the wall. What are they for, right? They're for communication. Okay? And you can ask a student to compare what communication is like in the modern days, in this day and age. And then I talk about, how the Egyptian, the pyramids, actually inspire modern architecture. And then I talk about Egyptian invention, which is the ancient calendar. And you can get the student to compare the Egyptian calendar with our modern day calendar. How are they the same? How are they different? Okay. And why did the ancient Egyptians make the calendar, right? Your answer is right here. Then you can ask a question, get the student to ask, to read, and then ask, right? Just to make so that you can check for their level of understanding. And then I talk about some popular Egyptian items, right? Like, their Egyptian cotton, which is very high quality. What are they used for, right? They're used to make, window curtains, bed sheets, towels, etc. And then I talk about their handmade rugs. They're very famous. And then at the end there's a wrap up, right? So you can get the student to give a conclusion of what they have learned. And so it's just more chance for speaking. And lastly, I have some exercises for the students to do. So like for example, this one, circle the correct answer. Egypt is one of the oldest countries in the world, right? After that, get the student to write it down, write it out, right? And then I have answer keys at the end there. It's for the teacher to use, right? So here it gives you the answer, right? Like that. So you can use that to check the student's work. And another one, like, match the words to the pictures, right? So here, eagle, right? River, desert, and then have them write down, write out the words and then fill in the blanks, right? Using the words in part A. And again, the answers are found in the answer keys. Okay, and then I also have the true and false questions. And if they find something that is false, ask them to talk to you. What is wrong with the sentence? Ask them to correct it, right? So they can talk to you about it. So, and if you are interested, so take a look and yeah, have fun with it. Okay, bye.